My name's Robbie Meehan and I am a geologist, and I am just outside Mount Bellew in East County Galway, and I'm on Carrownagapple Bog. Carrownagapple Bog is a special place, and I suppose there are lots of bogs in this part of the country. They've made the news quite a lot over the last few years. People seem to want to chat about bogs quite a bit, but in order to understand the bog, you have to understand its origins first, to really get a grip as to why the bogs are here and why they're so important. Because the Midlands of Ireland is fairly flat and low-lying, that meant that the low-lying areas within that area of landscape were inundated with water for a number of thousand years after the ice melted. So you're talking about lots of swampy conditions, lots of very extensive shallow lakes developing, and over time those swamps and marshes became infilled. And they didn't infill by humans infilling them, they didn't infill by any great natural disasters, they infilled gradually. And how they infilled was the swampy vegetation that grew within the marshes themselves and the swamps, partially decomposed, fell underwater, and as this process continued to happen year upon year upon year, the decomposed vegetation grew and began to form what's called basically peat. We are now today on top of a bog here in East County Galway, where there's probably 12 to 15 metres depth of peat. And that peat has been forming for 12 to 15,000 years. So the surface of the bog itself is formed of this moss called sphagnum moss. And this is really the building block of the bog itself. Now we're here in summer and it's quite dry. During winter, this is a store of water. This is exceptionally wet, it's like a sponge, and you can wring it and wring the water out of it. And only by going down a few millimetres, I'm into fibrous sphagnum that would have died in the last few years, but it's full of water. And as you go down through the bog even deeper, again, only a few centimetres deeper again, we're getting into more amorphous peat with fewer fibres, and as you go down through the peat itself, the fibres disappear and it becomes this black mass of peat material. And that material is always storing water. The bogs are great repositories of water. They're like huge sponges that basically hold in rainfall year upon year and stop it flooding the land around it. Now the bogs are unique in that sense geologically in how they've formed, but they're also unique in terms of the vegetation that grows on them. In this part of Ireland, there are exceptionally rare plants called pitcher plants and sundews and butterworts, and they're actually carnivorous plants. They will eat flies that land on them and decompose them themselves. So you've actually got almost alien type plants living in parts of the bog as well. We've obviously got the bog cotton, which we see around us here. And then at the edges of the bog, that will be invaded by trees such as willow and alder that love water. Water-loving plants everywhere within this environment. Bogs are very important in this country. Believe it or not, 19%, almost 1/5 of Ireland, is covered by peat and peat soils. And over the years, much of that peat has been cut for fuel. But nowadays, it's bog restoration that's really coming to the fore. And this bog here at Carrownagapple Bog is one of the living bogs that were selected a number of years ago to be restored by blocking up drains, by allowing water to pool, and by allowing the vegetation to come back and thrive and naturally regenerate the bog itself. And over time, what that will mean is that the dome shape of the bog as it was originally before drainage will restore, and we have an intact, breathing, living bog again in our environment.